retention in and of itself is not a research-based strategy that makes people better at that. So I don't know that we need a state law to do that. I do think we need earlier interventions, and we do know things to happen. I do think that the legislators, again, Representative McKenzie said that as well, that's what they were looking at when they voted.
I voted for this, so I want to be clear to you all. I voted for this. We set a good template, but sometimes we don't get it right.
Those students who are retained in the third grade, do you anticipate, based on the current law, that it would be more than what has been in the past?
You've got a group identified. We've never identified 2,600 third graders to be retained. Retention has not been a strategy we've used in Knox County Schools for students to be successful. So we usually, that number is quite low that we do retain. We do on certain times do that, but it's not at the rate of 2,600 students. Retention in and of itself has no research to show that it is a strategy that students get better at. Just a student being a year older doesn't all of a sudden make that happen.
Who actually decides?
As the law is currently written, it is based on that TCAP score that is in English language arts. So for third graders who are not proficient on that test, when those scores come back, it is, if they weren't proficient, then they would be retained unless they choose one of these two interventions, or in some cases both if they score low. So this law, as it's currently written, does not give us wiggle room outside of those two contingencies.
So basically, if we look at the over 1,000 hours a student would spend in school, this little 30 minutes of their life is what determines whether they would be retained, with no input from the teachers or the parents or medical professionals.
Do you believe it's important for our local district to be able to have more autonomy in deciding how that child is assessed against the bar? Or is TCAP sufficient alone?
We need to make sure that we have good data to make those decisions on, if that's the case. I mean, that's what we do now. We look at the data, we look at the student, look how they're performing, and we make those decisions.
The fact that you have no control over whether Johnny or Sally moves on, to me, makes no sense. You don't want that to be a blanket. Blankets rarely work.